Hi, my name's India Miller. I moved here to Sarasota a little over a year ago, kind of accidentally after renting a property to bring my mom to for the winter as her caregiver, and she passed away and I had to go somewhere. I fell in love with some of the people here in the recovery community and in the LGBT community and decided to make it my home. This is one of the few places that I cry at this point in my life. I wrote a little bit of a speech, but it's just pointless. I am so grateful to this church and the people in it for having this space for us. There was another transgender garden of remembrance or memorial garden in Missouri, and I just learned here today that one got closed down because it was on public property. So this is the only one in the country that we know of. And it's here in Sarasota where I ended up accidentally. And where I met Jules Rain, who does so much for the transgender and gender nonconforming community here. Another coincidence. Ended up being asked to go to a school board meeting, and I encountered Bridget Ziegler, who I'd never heard of. I don't own a television. I try not to read the news, and it's how I stay kind of happy and healthy. I came out as transgender in 1989. Things were so different. There was no internet. I didn't know what I was. But neither did anybody else, and I was met with like curiosity. But I know what I went through growing up as me. I was a kid who used initials for my name because I didn't want to use my boy name. And the bullying I endured was terrible, and I'm struggling with some of my cisgendered and heterosexual friends here to try to understand that, because everyone's like, we're all bullied. They started it when they threw the water, like I would have gone off too. But I think bullying for kids like me might be different than other people imagine. It's not being called fat. It wasn't being called chipmunk because of my cheeks, although that happened. Bullying for me was every day. I was bullied on the way to school. I went to 14 schools growing up all across the country, and it was different in every school. Some were better, some were worse. It was called fag and faggot and sissy every single day. I was like slammed around on the bus and beat up, and sometimes other kids would stand up for me, but I had never stood up for myself because I knew, the ramifications of that would be horrible. By 10 years old, I tried to commit suicide the first time, and I slit my wrists. I didn't really have the words to speak about what was going on, and I didn't want to disappoint my parents that I wasn't the strapping young lad that they had in mind. I certainly didn't know that people were gay or transgender. By 12, as puberty hit, I started hating my body and what was happening. And people started to see me more and more as a boy, where a lot of times they were confused as a kid because I was kind of, feminine looking, I think. And it got harder. And, the bullying that I went through, that started to get like a sexual nature where, truly on a weekly basis, I was assaulted in the locker room, would have my towel pulled down and, pushed into the wall, pushed down on the floor, pushed onto benches while boys would hump me and laugh. And, that's what bullying means, to me. I grew up religious, and I got more into religion, and I got really involved in a Pentecostal church, and had really deep faith and thought that was going to, be my people and how I would get through it. And I made the mistake of not knowing that being attracted to a boy was a problem. And boy, was it a problem. Sometimes I still feel like being attracted to boys is a problem, but we've come a long way. So I had exorcisms performed in the church. And, my point isn't to kind of make it about me or talk about how hard it was, but that is what bullying for kids like Next looks like. And I do think that that's different from people who aren't, diverse in their gender and sexuality. And that's important to try to convey, because I hope people, take a message home to our friends and just say, this is a different experience. And I don't have the right words so much of the time, but, I want to celebrate Next and where we've come today, and knowing that it's not okay to have to take it, that you do have the right to try to stand up for yourself. I don't know if Next went about it the right way, but it sounds like his childhood was a little harder there. I heard he goes by both pronouns, and I struggle with pronouns as much as everybody else. But I celebrate that they had the spirit to try to stand up for themselves. Lewis and Clark, when they explored this country in the early 1800s, wrote of, gender nonconforming people in their journals. They were here. The native populations had people that lived in genders other than they were born in, and they were revered. They were typically, considered spiritual leaders and medicine people and caregivers for the elderly and the kids. And I think about where we've come, and it's just so sad to me that this is a Native American kid today, a 16-year-old, and this is where we are, as a nation. We need to do better. And I think so much of this is driven, by fear, sadly by some religious ideologies, and a lot of it right now by politics. My bullying was hard. In 2015, I survived a man that responded to a roommate ad where I declared I was transgender, who tortured me and tried to kill me. And that was his thing. Being trans has been difficult in my life, but my life has been amazing. And I never thought it would be. Suicide was such a strong part of my story. Drug addiction became part of my story. And, if you are here and you're trans or you have anything about you, life can be amazing. Let it be amazing. Have the strength and the courage to be yourself authentically. And I promise your people will find you. You are my people. I've ended up in Sarasota, right? With all of you, with these amazing things that go on here. And if that isn't proof of a higher power, that loves me and is caring for me, I don't know what else it could be. So I want to wrap up, by just saying, these politicians that are putting these laws in place and doing this to LGBTQ kids are evil. The fact that one in Oklahoma actually spoke about NEX before NEX has even been finished with the autopsy, and called NEX filth, called all of us filth. An elected official, that's where we're at. And we have one of those elected officials here. Yes. Who has, sponsored all of these bills, who created the Don't Say Gay bill, who wears a t-shirt saying real women aren't men. Where I'm one of those women that was a man. At least by her definition. And I'm so moved by the names on these rocks because I so closely came to be one of the names on one of these rocks. And I'm so glad I didn't. I'm so glad this is here. I'm so glad you're here. I want to immediately call for everyone to please reach out, get involved, come to the school board meetings, write the governor, write your Congress people. We need to immediately demand the resignation of Bridget Ziegler from the Sarasota School Board, and Karen Rose, who's the chair, who has done nothing to send a letter to the governor, who's the one person that can remove her. But I can't imagine what these kids today are going through, seeing someone like that allowed to keep their job when everyone has asked them to resign and step down. I just know what it's like for me as an adult, and it's traumatic. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for your love, and I love each and every one of you.